Next item is 11C, staff memo and ordinance for driveway variance at 697 Glendale Drive, first reading. And this is taken from the Plan Commission Zoning Board record. The application has been amended to request a variation to encroach 4 inches into the required 5 foot, or 4 feet into the required 5 foot side yard setback for the purpose of constructing a driveway in the required side yard to access his rear yard so he can construct a detached garage per section 5-6-2E2A. And this is Mr. Pescucci of 697 Glendale Drive. If you'd like to make your presentation, sir.
Good evening, Council. I'm Joseph Pescucci. This is my wife, Gina, and our architect, Mike. Do you guys have any questions?
Well, tell us what you're doing.
So, basically, we're looking to build a garage. The hardship for our variation is to build a garage to house my 2017 Ford F-550 work truck. It's a tow truck. I'm required to drive this vehicle home for the purpose of a first responder in assisting the police department for the emergency towing recovery. My company, my father and I own Jean's Village Towing. We serve the Prospect Heights Police Department along with 4 other local police departments. As first responders in the state of Illinois, we are required to get the calls within 15 minutes in order to clear up the roadway and prevent other hazards from occurring. Jean's Village Towing is a locally owned and operated business. We have 2 locations, Wheeling and Prospect Heights. We're looking to build this garage on the west side of our lot because it basically is next to a wooded lot that is unbuildable. So that's basically what we're looking to build.
So you're looking to build a garage because you're required to house a truck. You can't park it outside.
Correct.
Or on a driveway. So it has to be enclosed, screened, or perfectly put in a garage. That's
Correct,
what you
and it's
have.
out of sight, out of mind where we're building the garage. So it's not in any way of any neighbors. It's also going to be used as a shed, and I'm a old car collector, and I would like to put some of my old cars in there. I also have a plow truck too, so there's other things that I plan on putting in there.
One of your neighbors complained that you will be turning on your emergency lights and siren the minute you pull out of the garage. Have you addressed that?
Yes, that is, there was never been any siren turned on. I don't even have sirens on my truck. That was an accusation that he had made. Since myself and Dan Peterson had got on the same wavelength with everything, there was some type of a miscommunication, and the neighbor that was having these concerns, he was under the presumption that it was going to be built as a third car attached garage, so it would be basically right next to his property. We've come up with a different location, which is now going to be on the west side of the yard, or the lot, and it's out of sight, out of mind, because it's next to a wooded lot that'll never be built on, and again, it's in the backyard. So there's really no, no harm, no foul to any other neighbors. In terms of lights and sirens, that's untrue. Obviously, I have 2 backup lights on the back of the truck that when you put it in reverse, they shine so that you can see around you, but never turned any, flashing lights or any type of sirens. There's not even sirens on the truck. So.
My last question, Darrell, what was the approval by the PCBA? Did everyone vote for it?
Dan's been handling that project, so I defer to him.
Joe,
I
anything?
have that record. Aye, Commissioners Kempa, DeGraff, Tamman, and Chairman Gash, and no nays.
All right, so it's fully approved by the PCBA. All right, thank you. Questions, please?
Can I make a couple of comments?
Yes, sir.
Joe and I have spoken.
Yes, sir.
I split a face with the name. And the PZBA granted the recommendation based on the fact that you were looking to encroach for a driveway to build a garage, not to build a garage to store a tow truck. That was never brought up, or put on the record in the PZBA documents. The tow truck on its own is not an allowed use, whether it's garaged or not. Okay, because your truck exceeds the plate designation, despite the fact that it's exempt to drive on roadways. Excuse me, it's not exempt to our code. So I hope you understand that, but.
I do fully understand that, and we've, Dan Peterson and I have actually talked about the next step and where to go. So one of the things that, it actually was listed in there as the work truck, because Dan was the one that obviously said that it had to be in there. So the application had work truck in there.
A work truck and 20,000-pound tow truck are two totally different things. In our exemption,
It's not 20,000 pounds, but
our ordinance cuts off at 12,000 pounds. And in the application, I believe, or what Dan told me was, it was 20,000 pounds.
It's-
So what it actually is, I don't know.
it's under 20,000, it's like 16. It's a
But
smaller,
Yet still over what we allow. So therefore, the next step here would be go to a text amendment, okay? And that text amendment, and don't get me wrong, I believe that you would take that thing and you would put it in your garage, and all the trouble that you've gone through up until this point, you're not the guy that I'm worried about. That text amendment, all of a sudden, allows anybody to do it. And everybody else isn't gonna be you. So I have to worry about the next guy too. And, you know,
Can't you just amend it?
doing what I can now
Text amendment.
to try and minimize people looking out across the street and seeing other people's businesses. You know, just the same as you do now, and I'm trying to help you out just the same. You know, you don't want to wake up, look out your window and see XYZ construction truck that has 12 ladders on it sitting across the street. You know, that's not what you move to. You move to a residential neighborhood, not to a commercial space.
I understand that. And one of the things is, my business is kind of, it's not your normal business because we serve as a first responder. Obviously, our job is to get to a call as quickly as possible. When you have a 4-car accident in the middle of Palatine and Wheeling Road, my trucks are required to be there.
I need to
in
stop you
15
right there,
minutes.
because
So,
we don't require you to be anywhere in 15 minutes.
in the police department, we have, in our contract is, we have a time stated as 15 minutes. Almost
But is
all
that
of our.
part of your contract saying that you'll be in there 15 minutes? Because our requirement, if I'm correct, Chief, is that right? We don't require him to be there in 15 minutes?
I have actually never seen an actual contract with any of our toll providers. We have 3,
Okay.
and those were in place before I became chief, and I've never seen a copy of one.
Okay. I don't necessarily have an issue with your driveway. I don't have an issue with a garage. I have an issue with you bringing in something that violates our code. Not to mention, I have concerns about the garage. I mean, that garage is sitting in a floodplain. And from what I gather, you're going to have, what, 8 2x2 openings in that thing?
It's been designed by my architect.
Oh, feel free, please.
It's a cross flow, what's the exact?
Should I state my name?
Please.
Mike Aiello, 1346 Pine Street, Glenview, Illinois. The garage was designed, we put 8 flood vents on there to have
I'm sorry, you put what?
8 of the flood vents on there, which are 1 foot by 18-inch openings.
1
We're
foot high or what?
1 foot high, 18 inches wide, which basically it's the size of a concrete block. So I'm sorry, it's actually 16 inches.
Or a raccoon or
By
a
8
skunk
inches.
or a possum?
Well, they're not like your regular, like a gridded vent. It's an actual louvered system. So
It's a closed opening.
well,
I mean, it's
it
a protected
opens and
opening.
closes,
Protected.
yes.
So it has a louver on it that is a screen and,
The ones that we were planning on using are a little more advanced than just a your typical metal screen that you would have on like a crawl space.
No, but it has a fixed louver on the outside.
Correct, and then it would flip over in the case of a flood to let the water back out. So it's a design for that. But we only actually need 4 of them, but because of the size of the garage, and making sure all the water were to be able to get out is why we put 8 in so that they're spaced out more evenly. As far as the floodplain's concerned, we've had Toberman Associates. They went through and designed to all the floodplain ordinances. We've had a structural engineer provide calculations and design for the foundation of the garage. So everything is built so that it will last. So it's going to be an expensive garage.
Yeah.
So we're definitely taking every step to make sure that it's going to,
How far down do you have to go with the piers and stuff?
got to go down 42 feet with helical
Bedrock
piers.
or-
Yeah. Well, it's to where the point where we did one test pier, and that's where we got the capacity to hold the weight of the garage.
That's right, it's an expensive garage.
Yeah, so that's what it's gonna be well built because of the cost, so it's not, I wouldn't be concerned about the structural stability of it. So, Gina's one of my cousins, so I'm not gonna do something that's gonna be a problem in the next 40
I'm
years.
sure even if she wasn't, you'd do a great job.
We're planning on living there forever. I was born and raised in Wheeling. I've been involved in the community my whole life. She went to Hersey, so we've been involved in the community, all my businesses, my father and I have businesses. We're not going anywhere. We give back to our community. We're very involved in everything.
Okay, well, hey, my position on this, and I said this to you when I talked before, has nothing to do with a personal issue with you. It's just, it's a gross violation of the current code. And knowing what I know, I can't be in favor of it, so.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Just to make sure that, I understand, I know about the text amendment being the next step in the process.
Yeah.
I just want to make it understandable to everybody that the variance is just for the driveway. The garage is an approved use. And then it's up to,
Until the point
until he-
where he said he was
Right.
going to park his tow truck in it, and then that was entered into the
Understand.
consideration.
And-
So, once that was mentioned, it includes the tow truck, just the
Understand.
same.
So I think when we were at the ZBA, we had said that the tow truck was not going to be until,
It was never
We went
entered
through the
into,
text
it was
amendment,
never
correct.
entered into the discussion for the
Right.
ZBA.
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, there is also other things, like I said, I have a plow truck. I like keeping that in there, and I've got little cars that
I got you, Joe. I understand it. I also know that a year from now, if it was my garage, I'd park my tow truck in it. So,
well, if it's not approved. I'm not
but
gonna-
on the other hand, your yard is 2 miles away. It's a minimal hardship. It takes you an extra 6 minutes to go get your truck and get out of there.
In a snowstorm, it's more than that, it really is. Or if there's a blockage at Palatine and Wheeling Road where there's accidents pretty frequently, now I can't get through that intersection to get to my truck to perform my job. So,
That kind of, oh, go ahead.
I'm done.
Alderman Ludwigson.
I was going to say, that kind of goes right into the question I was going to ask. Again, I'm not against the garage. I think it's probably overkill, and I know codes, what we require you to do is probably twice what needs to be done, just how it is, but I understand that, but you're willing to do that, so I don't have a problem with the garage. But let's suppose instead of at Palatine and 83, a semi turns over instead of a car. So they wouldn't call you. They'd call somebody who can,
no, we do heavy-duty towing too.
well, how are you going to do that?
Well, we would have to fly to our shop and pick up our heavy truck, which,
But what about when your neighbor comes in and says, I don't do cars, I only do semis, and I have to be able to get to the emergencies in 15 minutes. I gotta park one of my trucks there, it's above your limits, let me park, it's gonna be a little taller garage. My point is hopefully,
I would never park it, it's 40 feet long.
no, you won't, but your neighbor will, who comes here and says, we let you do it, why won't we let him park his big wrecker there? And that's to Scott's point, is it's not yours, it's not your individual truck, it's not your individual garage, it's the next guy that comes before the ZBA or comes to us and says, you let that go, why are you not gonna let mine go? Now we've set a precedent to say, just come here and ask, because we're gonna let you have it, and we just can't have that. And I know lately we've been trying to crack down on the number, it's just been getting out of control with the number of trucks that are parking in driveways that aren't supposed to be. And it's just dangerous to say, okay, if you had 3 old cars you wanted to park in your garage, then more power to you. But the problem is we know what it's for. And if we go ahead and approve that, what are we saying for somebody who comes to us to ask for something? You know, or if we say, go ahead, but you can't park your truck there because we're about to start cracking down on that. It's not fair to you to say, go ahead and build your garage, yet tell you can't park your car there if that's what the purpose is.
Well, one of the things that we had talked about with Dan Peterson was obviously a text amendment is something, obviously lawyers and attorneys handle, but there was a meeting that we had with my lawyer who was there, and he had ideas of basically an idea that could make it so that it's a tow truck and not like semi-trucks, landscape trucks, trucks with ladders on it, sprinters, whatever construction truck and.
Right, but what's our bridge to get there? Our bridge to get there is to allow you to do it. Now, if I substitute Joe Smith, who says, I wreck big trucks, I don't do little cars, so I have to have my big wrecker here. I want that same bridge to the text amendment. Why, we can change it for you,
Well,
but
because
why
it would
wouldn't
be
we have,
license plate weight.
but why wouldn't we have to change it for the next guy? None of this has to do with your structure, none of it has to do with the zoning as far as the building itself. It's just that we're put in a position of knowing what's going there
And I fully understand your concern, and, with the heavy-duty thing, if you set it at 16,000 pounds, a heavy-duty tow truck is way more than that, so that would be something that would be impossible.
I know, but now I'm your neighbor saying 24,000 sounds good to me, so it just never ends.
If I could ask a quick question, I mean, you're saying it's 16,000 pounds, but it's the gross vehicle weight 20,000? Is that what's on the,
The sticker on, the weight of the sticker on the truck is 16 and change. Now, I do have an even smaller truck, which is a smaller wrecker. It's a little tiny Ford wrecker, and that's a little tiny repo truck. And that, I want to say, is like, I think it's like 14,000 pounds. It's slightly over your.
But they do make the lighter duty that would meet the 12,000, because we actually did look it up. But I think the point, kind of the discussion that we're kind of having right now would be for the discussion that would be at the text amendment, correct me if I'm wrong.
This discussion that we're having now is because he brought up.
Because it brought, okay. I
Okay,
got you.
now,
Understood.
that is now taken into consideration. Okay, now, the next guy, we keep talking about the next guy, and the next guy could get the exact same truck you've got. And not necessarily because he was as considerate as you were, and you're, trying to get through this, but because that just happens to be what he has. Okay, and as we talk about this, the leading up to it wasn't good. I mean, your neighbor, called me and lodged several complaints, and there's several emails that went back and forth, and then he sent me pictures of the truck sitting in front of your house with another car on it. And I know you explained it, but you know what? The evidence is there. And if it happens once, it happens twice.
I was bringing my cousin.
I get it.
home so she could pick her car up from my house.
I get it.
So,
And
and he
but
took a picture.
I mean, the picture's there. So, yeah, I can't support it knowing what I know.
So when we, at the ZBA, I thought the approval was given with the stipulation that there would be no tow truck. Is that not even?
The ZBA doesn't communicate with us. All they do is provide us with a recommendation saying, yes, we feel that what he's applying for, he or she is applying for on the surface, we approve it or we disapprove it.
Sure.
Okay, and that's it. So there isn't, it's not like, okay, well, it's going to go to council and council's going to rubber stamp it. So that's what brings us to today. And when the ZBA reviewed your application, the tow truck was not at all a component of it.
I'm not, obviously, argue or anything like that, but I know
Oh, it's
that-
exactly why you're here. Come on.
Well, I'm just saying that I know that that was in there because the initial application I have a copy of, and it was exactly put as work truck, tow truck.
Oh, when I
But
talked,
I'm not-
when I
I'm not
talked
sure
to
if
the
the
ZBA.
ZBA's,
not
it's not,
considered.
it's not in the ZBA's, it's not what they do to regulate your use. All they're regulating, I believe, is whether it's something that's buildable or not. You know, just like when he comes before us for a restaurant and he wants the liquor license and video gaming, that's not in the application for the restaurant technically, but that's where he's going. Once you get a restaurant, you apply for a liquor license and get video gaming. I just don't want you to get caught up in I mean, this is really a discussion we've been having for the past year about trucks parking in driveways and commercial trucks and whatnot. You just happen to apply for this at this time. And I hate for you to go through all this and then we get done doing what we do with deciding how we're gonna handle commercial trucks parking in residential areas. And we say, you can't, you know, we're gonna crack down on it or make a change and you're stuck with a garage now that you can't use, you know,
Well, there's
for that
plenty of
purpose.
uses that I
But
have.
that's one of the things that we've discussed, and I've made it clear to him, is it worth still building the garage if the tow truck is not allowed? I mean, you're gonna get tickets, you're gonna get fines, you're gonna get everything that comes with it if it's an ordinance. And he did say yes. So, I mean, that's, the other question I guess I have, since it's now in the documentation of being a tow truck, should this get tabled until we apply for a text amendment? I mean, this was the process that we were told to go through.
Yeah, we've done every step that we've been asked to do.
For a final
Properly.
reading.
Yeah, the way Danny
But not the table anyway. It's first reading. Right.
You were told you should have gone for the text amendment.
Mayor?
All right, could we mention that we have 5 aldermen here and 2 have been speaking? Who's next?
I have just a couple questions. How long have you owned your business?
We've been in business 35 years. It's two generation. My father and I are the owners.
Have you always done the emergency calls?
Correct. Well, we started out, Gene's Towing started out at 83 and Hintz Road, if you remember Gene Standard. It was Gene DiBartolo, he's a distant relative of ours. He retired back in 1989, and my father and I took over the company. I should say my father, I was a little young at that age. I went to college, got my associate's degree in business, went to automotive school. We've got 2 body shops, one in Wheeling, one in Prospect Heights, and we operate our towing company, and we do strictly nothing but police towing.
Okay, so you've done that for several years then?
We've been doing police towing for 35 years.
Okay, because I guess my main question then is, if you've been doing it for 35 years, why all of a sudden now the vehicle has to be housed at your
I
residence?
lived in Arlington Heights before, and I had basically, I was approved to put the tow truck there, and I had a garage that I kept the tow truck in Arlington Heights. And my
They just
wife-
bought the house.
Yeah, we've only lived here since November. It was,
Okay.
December, November, right around there.
Okay.
So we just purchased the property. My wife and I just had a little, our second child, so we grew our family.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we knew that we needed to get a bigger house. So we moved into Prospect Heights because we also wanted a better school district, because that's where my wife went to school, Hersey. So we basically, I mean, we've been involved in the community and we wanted to move into this community. So.
Okay. That's all I had.
Alderman Rosenthal.
No questions. Okay. No questions.
Alderman Matt Dolick.
No questions, thank you.
And Alderman Ludwigson, and anything you want to add? This is a first reading, by the way. This is not an approval process. Nothing? All right, thank you for coming. Take heed for what you were told, and if there's some way to work it out, we'll try. We probably won't be able to work out some of the issues that were brought up, but thank you for coming.
Thank you all for hearing me. Thank you.
Joe?